Session 593. Deleted. Good evening. Now, I will give you some material for our appendix. First, I have some personal notes, if you do not mind. Rob said, "No." They said, "Now, Rupert is literally floating free from his difficulties. He made an important statement this evening concerning habits. Some new habits have finally taken. Consciously, he has learned to leave himself alone enough so that the body can clear itself. The morning and evening suggestions that you initiated and the longer list have helped. The environment change has been of great benefit, but also because he was ready. Talk out what you were discussing before the session, for there are variances here. Errors in communication on both of your parts. You can clear these up easily when each understands exactly what the other means in given definite situations. So go over those particular events. See what each of you meant by what you did or said, what the other thought you meant, and your reactions. This is simply poor communication and misunderstanding. But you should both clear it up. A word about what Rupert calls his helper. In the past, he drained his reserves. Now, they are building up in all areas. There are excess energies now that act as magnets, drawing other positive energy to him in such proportion that the entire gestalt becomes in effect a psychic helper. Now, this does have personality characteristics in terms of consciousness and intent, very positive ones, initially set into motion by Rupert's desire to help others, and attempts to do so. This is a form built up by him unconsciously in a realm other than the physical, and it is gaining in strength and expertise. He will be able to stand it to help others, and it will learn to do so with practice. It will become then more powerful in terms of good. It was always available. His late feelings of joy and release and the refreshment he is finding in nature released him from private circles of nervousness and opened channels through which positive energy did accumulate. This helper now automatically helps heal Rupert. Rupert's emotional energy is very strong, as you know. Thoughts and feelings of dejection were too faithfully materialized. Now, the change shows in an acceleration also, in attraction toward the creative and the positive, which very quickly generated the birth of the helper. It is indeed the opposite version of his black theme. It will also be able to guide him in a highly personal manner again, as it continues to develop. It's born and nurtured in those feelings of peace, joy, and contentment that he experiences watching his oak tree. This is accumulative, you see. This sort of phenomenon occurs in one way or another with those who have the capacity to draw upon great energies. But the manifestation, you see, can be beneficial or detrimental. Rob said, "Yes, I was wondering about that." They said, "These are personalities, in that they do possess consciousness. In this case, built upon Rupert's most creative tendencies. Such personalities are extremely faithful." Rob said, "Did he have a negative personality like this?" They said, that was his black thing, formed by him. Ralph said, I mean consistently over the past few years. Seth said, to that extent, it was consistent. It was not driven, however, by intent. In one way, both personalities were accidental. In that, Robert did not consciously form either. In deeper terms, however, it was a creature of default, of frustration, and lack of. When the frustrations were fed and worked through more and more, the creature then lost its strength. It was not given the unifying qualities of intent and purpose. In the helper, you see, you find a binding quality, where the deepest drives of the personality for good are freed, actually released in another range of activity to continue the personality's main intent. The black thing simply raged. You must understand, however, that the black thing also served its purpose, for Robert was finally able to recognize moods that correspond to it. You both came close to this recognition during your vacation, when you discussed a black ball or atmosphere that you threw back and forth upon. Robert has found again what you never really lost, the sense of daily joy of existence, which he allowed himself unknowingly to relinquish for some time. Follow the advice given you earlier this evening, the both of you. Now, this helper, as time goes by, can be counted upon to help you in whatever ways it can, as long as Robert continues in his present frame of mind and habit. For this itself is bringing about improvements in all areas of your lives. Robert should make a habit of addressing his helper now and then, and of building up rapport. The more that it acts of it, the better it will perform, and the greater its own development will become. It needs training and enjoys it, but the training must be gently and kindly. I will have more to say concerning this at another time, for Robert can use the information. Now, I suggest you take your break and we will continue. Now, we have gone very lightly into such material because of the interpretation that can be, and has been, given to it in the past. If you are not careful, you see, you end up with whole leagues of, in quotes, devils and angels, only completely disconnected from human personality. Independent agents of good or evil, out to tempt men or save them, as the case may be. You end up with the casting out of devils, which can be of great benefit. Incidentally, if the sufferer happens to believe he is possessed by one, I have told you often that you create your reality physically. Obviously, you create your psychic and spiritual reality also. You are aware of the physical environment that you create. It is the mirror image of the inner environment, but of this you are usually not so aware. Your reality exists, as you should well know by now, in many dimensions. Feelings and emotions attract in the physical universe and in any other their own kind. They form together, coalesce, they live together. In your system, there is some lag before physical reality catches up with your inner conceptions. In other realities, there is no such lag, for reasons that by now you should understand. At one time, therefore, Robert's fears greatly overbalanced his hopes. Feelings of desolation outbalanced feelings of joy. In a concentrated form, in this other realm, this self-image was reflected. Following the laws of attraction, it drew to it other such realities. Robert was made aware of the fact in an out-of-body state when they came face to face. He kept careful note of his feelings and reactions during that time, and knew he could not get in that state of mind again. So he started in course upward. The old habits, however, had to be broken down in both ways. The black thing and the helper are always latent in those terms. Great energy is required, however. So many people are not acquainted with this. They do not have the energy capacity to form either. They may, however, use symbols instead, upon which they vent negative feelings. Do you follow me? Ralph said, yes. Seth said, now you are on the threshold of forming your own helper. You helped Robert in both of his creations. These helpers are simply possessed of a different kind of consciousness like your own. In one way, they are formed from you, but considerable work of one kind or another is done often before they are released, and set free to work within these other realms for you. Now, these beings can be perceived, of course, by others, either traveling through those realms or within them. They are not thought forms. They are energy forms. They know others of their kind. They can communicate with the psychic or spiritual levels of consciousness of living persons. In one way, they are automatic offshoots or products, except that ones created. Because of their nature and their non-physical environment, their abilities far surpass your own in terms of acceleration. Is that clear? Ralph said, yes. Seth said, the black thing could be called a shadow image, the dark side of the personality gaining dominance for a time. The helper represents the strongest, most creative aspects of personality, gaining greatly in ascendancy. In between, you see the image is much the same as the one shown by the normal personality. The weaknesses and the strengths balancing out. Often the black thing, or dark side of the personality, sensed and acknowledged that it was responsible for the helper, or the helper's birth. Seth said, those familiar with a helper very rarely ever experience their equivalent black thing again, though the black thing can appear many times before the personality changes its ways and grows. In your case, Robert's black thing served for both of you. By watching him, you learned many lessons that you sorely needed to learn.